Joining me now from Stockworks Gold, we have David Kelsch, who is President, COO, and Director, and he's also a geologist. Welcome to the show, Dave. Let's start with some pretty big news in terms of the sale of your Cabin project to Finn Resources. Can you tell us about the terms of this deal and why you've decided to pursue it?
Yeah, sure. So Stockworks is a relatively new junior resource company. We recently consolidated it and got new management. So myself and Naseem Tayyab, the CEO, are our senior management there. And the company, it came with a legacy project called Cabin Gold in the Northwest Territories in Canada. And the direction of new management was to pursue opportunities elsewhere, and particularly Brazil, which I'll speak of later. So we decided that we'd monetize the Cabin Lake project to help with our project, to help advance our project in Brazil. So we identified an Australian group, and they were quite interested. And the main reason for divesting Cabin Lake is we wanted to get away from the seasonality of working in the subarctic in Canada, where you have a short window to work, then you have a short period of news flow, and then you go over half a year without any advancement on the project or any news flow. So we wanted to get away from that, and that's one of the reasons to go to Brazil. So the deal we did with Finn Resources, it was fairly simple. It was a sale for 300,000 Australian dollars and 30 million shares in Finn Resources. There's additional $450,000 in milestone payments along the way as they advance the project, and we retain a 5% net cash flow royalty. So these things are really helping us to advance our project in Brazil. And then they're actually currently drilling. They just started drilling on this project last week. So we're pretty excited that we may see some short-term gains and some mid-term upside if they have some success. Obviously, the shares will become worth more, and they'll start hitting those milestone payments, and we'll have additional cash flows.
So this is great timing to ask you to give us a bit of a deeper dive on this Brazilian project, the Pirenópolis Gold Project. Why does it merit your strategic focus at Stockworks Gold?
Well, as I mentioned before, we're getting away from the seasonality, and the thing we like about Brazil is very mining friendly, in particular the Pirenópolis project. It's in a region. Let me start with this. It's called Pirenópolis Project because it's near a historic town of Pirenópolis. The project is. It's about 25-minute drive on pavement to a network of gravel roads that cover the project area. So the Pirenópolis region, it was the center of a very large placer gold rush in the mid 1700s, lasted till the late 1800s, and it was much earlier of a placer gold rush than other places like the Klondike in Yukon or the gold rush in Australia, which happened a bit later. So in the Pirenópolis region, it was pre-mechanization, pre-industrial equipment, no dynamite. So it was really just the guys in the streams with gold pans picking out the gold. And by the late 1800s, the easy to get surface gold, placer gold, was pretty much exhausted, and the local people turned to agriculture as an economic base. And there really hasn't been much done in that region since then. And the key for us was that there is no bedrock source has been identified for this placer gold. Although there is quite a bit of placer gold there, other areas in the world that you go that have had these large historic placer gold rushes, they have one or more bedrock sources that eroded over time, allowing the gold to enter into the streams, and that's not the case in Pirenópolis. So we have approached that area with the idea that we'd like to see if we can find one or more of the bedrock sources for this placer gold. And as I'll speak to later, we've got some exciting results. So that's basically the reason we're in the Pirenópolis region, is the historic gold. But from a geologic perspective, we've got an analog that we're chasing. And this a geological analog for the bedrock source. And what this analog is it's Kinross's Paracatu mine, which is greater than 16 million ounces gold at 0.4 grams. So it's a relatively low grade globally, but it's Kinross's largest money maker. It's an absolutely massive mine. It's their most profitable mine. So our area of Pirenópolis, it's in the same geological belt. So we have the same rock package as Paracatu. As I'm going to speak to next, we do have some results that are similar to Paracatu's. And that's really what's drawn us to this region. So our goal is to try and find that type of a deposit.
So enough teasing. Let's discuss this recent testing and the results. So geochemical testing. Can you tell us about where the samples were pulled from and what they're telling you?
So in previous years, the vendor group that brought us the project, and I'll say that we bought the project 100% outright, so it's ours. There's no retained interest. The vendor group did reconnaissance work in the region in and around Pirenópolis over a number of years, collecting samples in stream sediment samples, looking for anomalous areas that they could focus in on. And what they ended up doing is they ended up finding an area that had some anomalous stream samples of 3 and 4 grams per ton gold in sediments, and this was in two parallel drainages. So they're about a kilometer and a half apart, and they both had highly anomalous samples in them. So the vendors brought the project to us, and we decided that we were going to advance that. The claim package encompasses both of these drainages right to the headwaters. So the idea is that these highly anomalous stream sediment samples, the gold in the samples should be coming from somewhere upstream and just being eroded down. So our approach has been to go in and take some very, very detailed, closely spaced samples going up the streams. And our anticipation was we would find a spot where we stopped getting gold, and that would indicate to us the area where the gold is being liberated out of the bedrock into the streams. So in December we did that, and we did a campaign of stream sediment sampling in these two anomalous streams, and we had very, very positive results. We ended up getting gold in stream sediments of up to 6.4 grams per ton gold. Numerous hits that were 0.5 gram to 1.5 grams per ton gold in the stream sediments. And what we found is we were getting hits along our sampling, and then all of a sudden we hit a spot where we got 6 or 8 samples continuing upstream without any gold in them, or very, very little gold in them. So that indicates to us that we've identified a very specific area that is likely the area the gold is being introduced into the stream. Now, one additional sample that's very, very interesting and exciting to us that corresponds with where this gold stops being in the stream sediment samples is a quartz float boulder that returned 0.8 grams per ton gold from the lab. So we actually have a float rock that has gold in it, not just the sediments in the streams. So these are our areas of focus, and we're quite excited to get in there and follow these up. So what we'll do next is we'll go to these very specific areas, and we'll step out of the streams into the general landscape, and we'll take very, very detailed soil geochemical samples on a very tight grid space. And what we hope to gain from that is to identify a anomalous area, or a halo, you may call it, of anomalous gold in the soils. Or we may have pathfinder elements such as arsenic or mercury that could also indicate gold mineralization. And once we identify that, those will be our drill areas. Those will be the areas that we'll focus on drilling to try and identify in bedrock where this source gold is coming from.
So Dave, finally moving forwards, can you give us a bit of an idea of timelines for these major exploration milestones at Pirenópolis?
Yeah, so our timelines are pretty straightforward. We're going to go do the stream sediment sampling probably within the next month or two. Permitting is not an issue. All we need in the region is just land. It's all land owners by ranches. So all we need is landowner permissions, which we've gotten in the entire region to do our work. So in the next month or so, we hope to get out there and do this soil geochem sampling. It'll be a very quick program, 10 or 12 days. And then we get the results back from the lab. That should take maybe 3 to 4 weeks. And at that point, we'll be able to analyze all our data, our stream sediments, our geochem, our recently completed airborne drone magnetic survey, and that will pinpoint our drill targets. So it'll probably be about 3 months from now we should be in a position to get out there and do some drilling.
And let's see a revival of that gold rush all the way down to the bedrock. Thank you so much for today, Dave.
You bet. Thanks.